Hi everyone, welcome back to the Amber Serpent. My name is Gulveg. All right, so last week we had a kind of intense rune reading Wednesday with the new moon and the solar eclipse, and there was this whole energy of friction in our lives that is going to be responsible for allowing us to know how to focus our energy in a particular way. So for this rune reading Wednesday, being that it's the week after the solar eclipse, I thought it would be very appropriate to bring out my Shiva Lingam runes. So the Shiva Lingams, as the name would insinuate, the Shiva Lingam is sacred to Lord Shiva. So we are doing kind of like a little multicultural thing here. We've got the Lord Shiva's rune. It's only found in one place in India, and we've got the runes on these beautiful Shiva Lingams. So Shiva is all about liberation, purification, transformation, and so I thought that because that was very much a part of the energy that we were seeing from last week's Rune Reading Wednesday, that was going to set this pattern for the next 6 months or so, that it might be a good stone to bring in for this particular Rune Reading Wednesday. So let's set the intention of what do we need to know most for this next week. We're going to infuse the runes with our prana, our chi, through our breath with that intention. What do we need to know for the following week? Rune number 1. Number 2. Number 3. All right. So for this rune reading, we have rune number 1, which is Rhino, which is interesting. This came up last week too. We have rune number 1, which is, or number 2, which is Isa, the ice rune. And then for rune number 3, we have Tiwaz, tears rune. So, which is really interesting here is that we have a rune that is very much associated with movement, followed by a rune that is like the opposite of movement. The ice rune is about stillness, inertia. And it's also interesting because it's also associated with gravity, so kind of like the law of attraction. And then we have tears rune, Tiwaz, which is about direction, justice, balance, and sacrifice for the greater good. So, putting these all together here, what I'm seeing is that the movement that we saw from last week is now transitioning into this week, and we are being asked to chill out for a moment, to have a moment of stillness, perhaps a week of stillness. And this is not typically something that a lot of folks are all that good at. I know for me, myself, I'm not that good at just this concept of just allowing things to come my way without really having to do a lot. There's kind of this concept that the good things have to be really hard. And sometimes they have to be really hard, but not always. And so what I'm seeing here is that a little bit of rest, a little bit of rejuvenation, and meditation and contemplation is going to allow us to set a course for the movement going forward. So one of the things that Tears Rune is associated with is the North Star. It's associated with direction, to allow it to be our compass. And when we don't take these times to stop for a second, a lot of times our energy can become dispersed. It can be going in too many different directions and too many different places all at the same time. And then we have a hard time moving ahead because the energy has not been condensed or focused in a very effective way. So this is really a week of figuring out what that focus is. And that really is a continuation of last week's reading too. Last week's reading was really about allowing the friction that's coming up to the surface to be kind of like the guiding posts to allow us to know where it is in our life that our transformation, growth, and energy needs to be focused on. And here, we're seeing that again, but it's letting us know that right now is not necessarily the time to take action per se, but it's the time to just kind of take a step back and assess the situation and figure out when it is time to take the right actions. We will know then what the right timing is for that action too, because timing is really important too. If it's just action for action's sake, then we're wasting our energy. The other thing too here is to know that Tears Rune is also many times about self-sacrifice for the greater good. It's about this divine justice. So most of the time, in order to get something, we must give something. That's kind of, reciprocal. So there may be a situation coming up ahead. I don't think it's going to be necessarily this week, but I think part of what we may need to assess is what needs to be let go of for us to be able to receive what it is that we are wanting to receive. There's going to be some decisions that we are going to need to make going forward after this week that is going to be really about what is working for us, what is not, and what needs to be severed so that we can make space for new things to come. But this week is really about just pausing for a moment and assessing what those things might be. So take a breath this week. Take a breath. There's no need to rush. There's no need to force. This is a week where we are able not necessarily to just kind of sit on our haunches, but to take a higher point of view and to allow ourselves a little bit of space so that we can move forward in a very efficient, a very graceful way versus one that is just forging ahead and not directed or focused. So just take a moment to breathe this week. Take a moment to focus whatever it is that you need to do to go inside and to do what I call a belly check. What does your gut have to say? What does your intuition have to say? Whatever it is that you need to do to make space for that, this is the week to do it. Thanks a lot for joining us for the Amber Serpent Rune Reading Wednesday for July 18th. And I look forward to seeing you here next week. Thanks. Bye-bye.